Hey, what's good, everybody? What's going on? It's your boy Maas Apeal. And I know usually I'm on Tuesday nights, but with the school shooting that happened yesterday, and then I woke up this morning and I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was talking about how one of the schools here in the Cincinnati area was also getting threats that there was going to be shootings at their school today. So when I heard this stuff, I just thought that we needed to have a conversation about gun violence, about gun control, and while we have the election at hand, which candidate is going to do something about the gun violence that we have going on all across America, um, from school shootings to migrants who have came to America, and basically they're using the money that the government has given them to change their life. Basically, lots of these people are using that money to purchase firearms. We have cases where migrants have attacked police in New York. I don't think anyone has been shot, but I think that police have been shot at by migrants in New York. We have cases in New York and Dallas, Texas, as well as Aurora, Colorado, where armed gangs have basically taken over apartment complexes. So with all the gun violence that's going on, and then yesterday we had school shooting in Georgia. I can't think of exactly where it was. Basically, it was 45 minutes outside of Atlanta. This person shot 14 people. 4 people died, just people that are in the hospitals. So when I saw all this going on, I was like, we need to have a conversation about this. And I am not a gun owner. I have thought about purchasing a gun. I have went and looked at guns, but for some reason, I just have never purchased a gun. I've never been hunting. I've never been a hunter. My dad didn't take me hunting. We didn't have guns in the house while I was growing up. And I think there's a story about that, but there was a traumatic experience that my dad went through with firearms when he was little. So basically, we never had guns in my household when I was growing up. Now, I have friends that they learned how to shoot guns when they were 5 years old. So I don't really know how to look at the situation in totality, because even though I don't like guns, I know people that shoot guns for sport. I know people who have guns for protection, and I know people who just have guns. They have guns all over the house. But what do you all think? Do people really need to be able to possess AR-15s? I mean, these are guns that are basically just killing machines. There's no hunting use for AR-15s and AK-47s, SKs, um, Kalashnikovs. There's lots of. Now, I do, even though I don't like guns, I do know a lot about guns. Don't ask me why. I just know a lot about guns. held guns. I've seen big guns. I've held braille guns. Um, I've seen. I have buddies that were in the service that are snipers. I've seen their sniper guns. I've held their sniper guns, but I've just never had the wherewithal to want to purchase a gun. Just some. I've had my friends that have told me that I need to have a gun for protection, but I don't know. I don't know. I've just never had the desire to own a gun. I got buddies that walk around with bags full of guns, pistols, bags full. I know lots of different people, but it's just not something that I did. So did a little bit of research, and I also have some information that I pulled up, and I'll be talking about that, during this time. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to the people. I wanted to see how you all feel about guns. I mean, a lot of when you bring up guns, people bring up the Second Amendment, and every American has the right to bear arms. But I think it should be arms with some limitation. We have people, young guys. This isn't an old phenomenon or anything like older guys, but we have young guys who have switches, illegal switches on their guns, where basically they turn a handgun into a machine gun. This has been on the rise for the last 4 or 5 years, where you have people who get shot with a switch, and basically they get shot 16, however many bullets are in the clip, they get shot that many times in a matter of seconds. Pull the trigger and cut, all the bullets come in. So with all the innovations that these companies are, coming up with for firearms, do we need regulation on what types of guns the general public can have? What y'all think? What y'all think? Hit the like button, share this video out, subscribe to the page. I know this is different. I'm usually on Tuesdays. I didn't really put an announcement out about this. I just basically came up with the thumbnail and put it out. So yeah, we're gonna. I want to talk to you all. I want to engage with you all. I don't want to do all the talking. So with that being said, we're coming up on 8 minutes in the show. Y'all know usually the first 15 minutes. Shouts out to everybody that's watching on Facebook. Shouts out to everybody that's watching on Twitch. Shouts out to everybody that's watching on Instagram, and for sure, shouts out to the Maas Apeal family that's watching me on YouTube. So that being said, I'm gonna look at some comments that have been popping up since I came on. So yeah, we're gonna see how everyone else feels about gun regulation or gun deregulation. Should people be able to have whatever guns they can afford, or should there be, restrictions on what types of guns you should be able to have in your household? They haven't really come out and said what kind of gun. Well, I haven't seen anything yet that said what kind of gun the student, 14-year-old in Georgia used. But they haven't said, but I'm safe to say it's probably some sort of AR-15 assault rifle, some of that nature, or a high-powered pistol. So whatever it was, he was able to get off at least 14 shots, because there's 14 people that were shot. So in quick succession. So I would, I'm just guessing that it's probably an AR-15. If anybody in the chat knows, please put it up. What kind of gun was it that the student used to commit those atrocities in Georgia? Yeah, we're gonna get to these comments. I tried something out on my Tuesday show. I tried to do the vertical, but there was too many comments. It kind of looked cluttered, so I went back to the tried and true widescreen. So yeah, we will be able to see everybody's comments tonight. Tried something out last week, didn't really work out too good, but as you grow and as you build, you gotta try new things. So Skills from the NO said, guns don't kill people. People use guns to kill people. We need more people with self-control, more education pertaining to the use of fire. That's 100% correct. I think that's a good. I think that's a good start. I think that's a good first comment to highlight. I'm gonna read that again. Guns don't kill people. People use guns to kill people. We need more people with self-control and more education pertaining to the use of firearms. I think that's a good comment to start off on, but that's absolutely correct. But I don't think education, yeah, self-control, yeah, and that's a big component in gun ownership is being responsible. I know some irresponsible owners. I know some responsible owners. I know people who use gun boxes who lock their guns up. You know, they put their guns where their children can't get to them. And then I know people, they got guns laying around everywhere. So I think, self-control is yeah, people need self-control. But do you still think there needs to be some moderation? Do people need assault rifles? Does the general public need assault rifles? What do y'all think? AR-15s, SKs, AKs. These are guns that are made strictly for killing. They are guns that are used by the military. They have really no hunting value because the velocity of the guns and the velocity of the bullets and the size of the bullets, when it hits something, it basically explodes. So you can't, anybody that hunts knows that, certain places you shoot an animal when you're hunting, there's certain stuff that you can't hit. You have to be a really good shot. So I don't really understand, this is me, why someone would need an AR-15 or AK or SK. These are killing machines. If you pull an AK out or an AR-15 out on somebody, that's a death sentence. Unless you try to shoot them in the leg or something, you shoot the leg off. Just me. I was gonna talk about that YWG. Mental health. Mental health is a big component in that. Everybody doesn't have the mental aptitude to be a gun owner. Everyone doesn't have the aptitude to be a gun owner. I'm gonna look at some of these key facts about Americans and guns. And this was a research that was done by the Pew Research Center. And first observation that the Pew Center had when they were looking at Americans and guns is they said that about 4 in 10 U.S. adults say they live in a household with a gun, including 32% who say they personally own one. Now, just like I said, if my mother and father did own a gun, I never saw it. Now, I do have uncles that had, guns. I've seen guns all my life, but just never had the desire to want one. And I think, growing up, when you see how guns can hurt people, I don't know. When I saw somebody when I was 7 years old, and I have family that lives in Chicago, south side of Chicago, Inglewood. So I remember one day I was 9 years old and we were in Chicago visiting my family, and this was the first time I saw somebody get shot. And I saw this man get shot in the head and killed. And I don't know, being 9 years old and seeing someone get shot in the head and expired in front of you, it can change your outlook on guns. Some people may be drawn to guns after seeing that. But me, it was scary. To see somebody get killed in front of you, it was scary to me. It kind of made me shied me away from guns. Yeah. So I think it's the environment that you grow up in. But like they said, only 4 in 10 adults say they live in a household. 40%. So there's 60% of people that don't own guns or weren't polled in this poll, as well as 1/3 of people saying they actually own a gun. 33%. So there's 32% of people who own a gun personally, and 40% of people who say that they have grown up in a household where there was a gun. Did you people out there, do you own a gun? Did you grow up? Did you grow up around guns? How do you feel about guns? I'm gonna put a poll up. I want to see what you all think. And basically, the poll I'm putting up is, do you own a gun? And I'm gonna be the first vote. I can't vote. I can't vote. So I was gonna vote no because I do not own a gun. But I would, like to know if you all own guns. But mental health is a big. The thing about that is, when you're filling out a form to get a gun, they're not privy to that information because of HIPAA. Does there need to be some type of clearinghouse that you should have to go through, where whatever type of clearinghouse it is will have access to people's HIPAA if they do have mental issues, which will, make them not eligible to own a gun? Do we need something like that? I think they tried to do that before. I could be wrong. If somebody in the chat, knows, please inform us, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I think there needs to be some type of clearinghouse that when you purchase a gun, your information can be, and if you have been flagged to have mental issues or something, then you shouldn't be able to purchase a gun. YWG said, I work with teens that belong to gangs. Gun laws don't affect criminals. Gun laws don't affect criminals. So basically, what you're saying is, whatever laws there are about guns, criminals are going to be able to get their hands on guns if they need them. I mean, yeah, I understand that. I understand that, and I kind of agree with that. But if there weren't so many guns in the general population, but I don't think there'll ever be. There's just so many guns that are in general population right now. They have gun buybacks and things like that where you can come and turn in guns and they'll give you money for them, no questions asked. But is it really no questions asked when they give you money? Is it really no questions asked? I think I would like to know what percentage, how many guns do they really get back in gun buybacks? That I would really want to know that. Bud Fouls, how you doing? How you doing, Sue? Gun in the house is a must. So basically what you're telling me is that I need to go out and purchase me a gun. Hit the like button. Share this video out. Subscribe to the page. To everybody that's watching on Facebook, everybody's watching on Twitch, everybody's watching on Instagram. Y'all know what time it is. Come over to YouTube. Join the conversation. So come on over and join us. It's a good conversation going on right now. I want to know how y'all feel about guns. Maybe, I don't know. After this conversation, I may have to sign up for a gun class and go, I may have to sign up for a gun class and go purchase me a gun. So this is the third person that said that Gun in the house is a must. Well, see, you have a wife, you got a dog. I mean, you have things that you need. You have a wife and a dog that you need to protect. So I understand that. Me, I live by myself. I ain't getting no trouble. I ain't got nobody chasing me. I ain't got nobody after me. But I do understand. Maybe I need to rethink that. Maybe I do. Okay, we got listen here and here said no existing law prevented, no seen proposed law would prevent it. All the laws in the world can prevent a person with can't prevent a person with determination. You're right. If a person has it in their mind to do something, they're gonna figure out a way to do it. And that's what listen here is saying. Is that if a person has in their mind that they want to do something, they're gonna get their hands on a gun. But I still think, I mean, we can talk about the criminal impact on it. But like I said, if there was regulations and there weren't that many guns out in general population and guns were tracked, serial numbers were really used, I just think that there's better ways to track guns. But I mean, now you can make a gun with a 3D printer now. So they got these, what do they call them? Ghost guns. They're ghost guns that basically people are making with 3D printers, and basically these guns have no serial numbers. And the thing about it is, when you shoot a gun, it leaves like a pattern on the bullet. So these people are throwing these ghost guns away after they use them, and they're never being used again. So it's no way to trace the gun. So, like Listen Here was saying, if there's a will, there's a way. If a person wants to get their hands on something, they can. So, I mean, with technological advances that we have, it was obvious that when the 3D printer came out, that people were going to be using those printers to make things that they possibly couldn't get their hands on. So now you got people that are making guns with 3D printers. So how do you combat that? How do you regulate that? How do you regulate someone that owns a 3D printer from not being able to build a gun? I mean, do you make it where the software where they will be prohibited from making a gun with the 3D printer? How do you stop that? Oh, okay. YWG said he's registered. So you registered to carry a concealed weapon. Skill said, even if we get rid of guns, there will emerge another form of deadly replacement. A gun itself is only symbolic of quickly eliminating the threat. Point well taken, Skills. Point well taken. If you get rid of guns, yeah, but I think just the totality in guns, once you pull that trigger, ain't no brakes on that bullet. But I understand. I understand what you're saying. If you get rid of guns, people will come up with knives. When in these studies I was doing, in the UK and Europe, the general public doesn't have guns. So by the general public not really having access to guns, most of their crimes are crime, close up, knives. So if there weren't a lot of guns in the general population, there would be more stabbings. When I was growing up, you were more apt to hear about somebody getting stabbed than you were about somebody getting shot. Because when I was growing, people had guns, but it wasn't as prolific as it is now. And you would have more people getting stabbed. But as people got their hands on guns, you didn't hear about, stabbings is more personal. It's more personal. So as people started getting guns, they didn't need knives. You didn't need to be close up on somebody to kill them. You could do a drive-by, keep going. So Honestly, that's some good. We got it's a good conversation. I wanted to have this conversation. There's some good comments coming. Yep. YWG. The kids you work with use ghost guns. Yeah. They use ghost guns because there's no evidence. There's no evidence. Once they throw they get a ghost gun for $20 or $30. It's a throwaway. It's a throwaway. So once they get the ghost guns, for one, they don't have serial numbers on them, and then for two, just throw them away. It's a plastic. It's a hard plastic gun. I remember when the plastic Glock, when the plastic 9 came out, and they had to come up with they had to put some type of metal component into that gun because people were sneaking those guns in because they were made with a hard plastic. There was a plastic 9mm Glock that people were carrying, and they were able to get those guns into the clubs because the hard plastic didn't go off on the metal detector. I know y'all remember those guns. You grew up in the 90s, you remember those plastic Glocks. Plastic, everything was hard plastic. And that was made to circumvent the metal detector. There's always going to be a manufacturer that is not using ethics. They're thinking about the dollars. So there's always going to be gun companies that are going to come up and try to make something to circumvent whatever's going on. The man that created the switch said he wished he would never have created the switch because now he sees what that switch is being used for. He said he wished he would have never created the switch because he didn't know when he made it, he said he didn't know what the effects were going to be that they are now, where people are just basically shooting people up. Right. Hey, Dark Star, how you doing tonight? Right. If you know software, you can make your own. Right. If a person has the software and has a 3D printer, a powerful enough 3D printer, you can make the thing about it is these 3D printers, it doesn't take a long time for them to create the stuff. I worked at a machine learning and AI engineering firm. And basically, we had a 3D printer in our office. This was when they first came out, like 4 or 5 years ago. We had a 3D printer in our office, and they were making little fun, little gadgets and stuff. But yeah, it didn't take long for the 3D printer to make things that it was making, like 10 or 15 minutes. Now, the stuff that it was making, I don't think it would be as complex as a plastic gun or something like that. But it doesn't take long. I think that ghost guns are the biggest problem, as well as AR-15s and assault rifles. But yeah, ghost guns, that's the biggest problem because they're untraceable. They're untraceable and they can be made at home. Hey, Dark Star, how you feel about guns? How you feel about gun control? Do we need regulation? You know, when you start talking about gun regulation and things like that, Second Amendment people come out and say you have the right to bear arms. Well, yeah, you have the right to bear arms, but I think it's with some. You don't have you have the right to bear arms, but you can't have a tank. You have the right to bear arms, but you can't have a grenade launcher. I just think that there are some guns that the general public just shouldn't have access to. Yep. Dark Star said you can buy 80% of lowers for less than $150. You can get some places you can get guns for a lot cheaper than that. So how do y'all feel about what happened yesterday? Are children safe going to school? And when people see stuff like that, you're gonna have copycats. Nothing happened here in Cincinnati, but they did. There was a threat going on that there was gonna be a shooting at a couple schools here in Cincinnati. You know, once something like that happens, you know, people like to be funny and put stuff out, but luckily nothing happened here in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. But yeah, somebody had put a threat out that there was going to be shooting at schools in the area. So there was a lot of precautions and cautious people this morning. Luckily, none happened, and kids got to go to school today. So yeah, yes, you can own a. Come on now, Dark Star. I can't go buy me a Sherman tank. I can go buy me a Sherman tank. Is that what you telling me? Dark Star said we can own the tank, y'all. I don't think so, Dark Star. I don't think Uncle Sam's gonna let us buy a tank. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're gonna let us buy no tank. I don't think so, Dark Star. I don't think so. But the Second Amendment does say that you have the right to bear arms, but I think that's with some designate. Like, you can't own a missile. Can't. I mean, yeah. Now you can't. There's some powerful guns that you can still own. But I don't know. I've seen some powerful guns. Yeah, I've seen some scary guns in action. Not criminal action, but yeah, shooting, gun range, stuff like that. Yeah, I had a buddy that had one of those shotguns with the rail on it. Put a rail back, put the rail on your shoulder. I have shot a gun, but might be time to own a gun. Should every American own a gun? I think. See, I understand everybody needs a gun for protection, but I just think more guns, more problems. More guns, more shootings. Less guns, less shootings. Am I wrong in thinking like that? Does everybody need a gun for protection? Is that the world we live in now, where every American should have a gun in the household? Is that where we at with this now? Wow. Darkstar said there are people here in Texas that own tanks. But can they get their hands on tank arsenal? They may own a tank, but I don't think they can get a hold of it. I don't think you can buy a tank arsenal. I don't think they can go and buy them. I don't think they can go buy them big tank bullets. You may be able to own a tank, but can you go buy the arsenal? Alex Jones owns a tank. I don't think Alex Jones owns nothing. He owes Sandy Hook $1 billion. They might come confiscate his tank. Darkstar. Darkstar said gun ownership is a mindset. Not everyone should own a gun. That's how I feel, Darkstar. That's how I feel. And there are some people that own guns that really shouldn't own guns. I saw this video the other day. This dude had a gun and he was threatening his girlfriend with it because he didn't want her to leave. He was threatening her. A man threatening a woman with a gun. You living great. There was a time that you wouldn't think that a woman would shoot some. Women are stone cold killers. Women are stone cold killers. A woman will shoot you. Women will shoot you probably before a man will. There's lots of women. There's lots of women who own guns. There's lots of women who go to gun range. I have a couple female friends. You go over their houses and they got their gun range thing to let you know. Yeah, I shoot. I was like, is that a warning? She's like, no, I just went. Like, that's a warning. You go over a girl's house and she got their shooting range things and all was all head shots and chest shots. Wasn't no misses. I was looking at her like, do I really need to come over here? Skill said anything can become a physical weapon, even a spoon. Guns don't have a mindset we do. The solution lies within our mental, not the elimination or restriction upon the physical eye. Okay, now, okay, okay, okay. I'm with that. I'm with that. But like I said, do there need to be some safe fields in place so people who actually don't need guns can't get their hands on them? And do laws need to be? Do laws with guns need to be tougher? Like if you get caught with a gun and you're not a registered gun on, you're not registered to have a gun. Should the laws be a little bit tougher? Should the laws be a little bit tougher? Or I mean, with so much overcrowding in jails, you know, you get arrested with a gun, you might go in and 4 or 5 days they might have to let you out because of overcrowding. So I mean, there's Now I will say that this, with all the migrants that are coming over here and taking over stuff, it may be time to own a gun. But I will say this: what I have noticed about Venezuelan gangs is they're targeting neighborhoods that are they're basically going and terrorizing their own. They're going and terrorizing their own people. Those are the people that they're going and they're extorting are people that are Spanish descent. They're going and basically feeding on their own. And I think that has a little bit of a component as to why these local jurisdictions are kind of lax on it, is because these Venezuelan gangs, they're going and they're terrorizing predominantly Spanish neighborhoods. Bills are in place. There are people out here selling illegal firearms or Now that's I would say that you can go to any hood, any suburb. I wouldn't even just put it on the hood. I would say that you can basically go anywhere and buy a gun, because here in Kentucky, I can take my driver's license and I can go to the pawn shop and I can buy AK today. Well, the pawn shop closes at 5 o'clock. But I can go to the pawn shop tomorrow morning with my ID, just my ID, and I can buy AK, an AR. And there was a time, I don't think they do it anymore, but there was a time when you could go to Kmart, you could go to Walmart, and you could purchase a rifle. There was a time in my lifetime of growing up when you could go to Walmart, Kmart, and purchase a rifle. I think something happened and they stopped doing that. You used to be able to go to Walmart, Kmart, and buy ammunition. You could go to Walmart or Kmart, and they would have ammunition laid out, and you could go purchase it, a box of ammunition. Can't do that now. That's the times that I grew up in, where you could go to, yeah. So access to guns is depending on where you live at. Now we know New York, they don't. New York, you can't own a gun. So they say. The gun laws, if you get caught, you automatically get 5 years prison. But I don't think that 5 years is much of a deterrent because we hear about people getting shot in New York all the time. So there are laws, but there are always going to be people that break them. But just because people are going to be able to break them, does that still mean that there needs to be no regulation? What y'all think? Gonna get back to these comments. Dark Star said, not all states require registration. You're right. Laws that are in place need to be enforced. You're right. And that goes back to, that's why states' rights. You can have federal laws, but states' rights really prevail. So, like I said, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, these are places where you can go into a pawn shop and purchase a pistol with a driver's license. So I don't think that I think that green money is the root of, they're not gonna stop making guns. That's for sure. You can look at any guns and ammo book that comes out every month, and there's plenty of new guns coming. Matter of fact, there's a new gun that's out now. It's a pistol. You put 2 shotgun shells in it. Bam! It's a shotgun pistol. Who needs a shotgun pistol? Who needs a shotgun pistol? Like I said, there's always going to be some people out here that are going to make something. Always. Who needs a shotgun pistol? Then I saw this one gun. It's called the Elephant Killer or something. The gun, yeah. There's some big guns out here. Big guns. But I really, and we're not talking about these big novelty guns that you see people shoot. We're talking about pistols, AR-15. Really, AR-15 is the gun du jour, right? That's the gun that all of these school shootings, we've had school shootings, and most of all of the school shootings that have happened, an AR-15 was involved in those shootings. Hold on, let me go over here. So, since Columbine happened in 1999, and this number is from June of this year, so there's more. Yesterday's school shooting, and I think there's another one that aren't reflected in these numbers. But basically, there have been 416 school shootings since 1999, with 382,000 students in that time have experienced gun violence. There's 382,000 students who have witnessed gun violence in a school since Columbine. That's a lot. America is #1 in school shootings in the world. Mass shootings. America is #1 in mass shootings in the world. There's been 417 school shootings on school grounds, inside of schools, since 1999. What can be done about that? Is there anything that can be done about that? Will gun regulation change that? Or is people, students, youngsters running up in schools with guns, is that just a sign of the times? Is it just these are occurrences that They're just gonna happen. What can be done to what can be done to stop school shootings? Is there anything that can be done to stop school shootings other than padlocking the schools? Now, there's a high school that's less than a mile from where I live at, and you cannot get into that school unless you have an appointment or unless you are coming to pick up a student. Other than that, you can't get into that school. That is how it is now. I went to the school because I was recruiting for one of my clients, and basically I wanted to recruit at the high school. So I tried to go to the high school to leave some flyers for the people to, to be able to send their resumes or, sign up for the positions or reach out to me. They would not let me in that school, not even to go to the principal's office. So there are things that are being done to combat it, but I think with state rights and with gun laws being so different from state to state that you go to, it's kind of hard to regulate. Don't y'all think so? It's kind of hard to regulate when there's different tiers of everything. There's 50 different states and there's 50 different gun laws. How can you regulate that? And the states aren't going to let the federal government infringe on what they do. So how does the federal government regulate that? How do you put a regulation when there's 50 states with 50 different gun laws? How do you regulate that? Can it be done? Can it be regulated? Do y'all think it can be regulated? Gun ownership. When, like I said, we have 50 states with 50 different gun laws. There can't be one regulation that covers all of that. It's not possible. Joint Chief said, do the laws need to be tougher on guns, or do they need to address mental health and stop penny pinching on that issue, trying to underhandedly take away your rights like they did with Big Brother? Do the laws need to be tougher, or do they need to address mental health and stop penny pinching on that issue, trying to underhandedly take your rights like it was Big Brother? I can see that. I think that's the one issue that keeps coming up in this conversation is mental health. But like I said, it's kind of hard to regulate that when with HIPAA, you can't have access to a person's medical records, mental health records included. So how do you regulate it when they don't have access to the information they need to have access to? It's HIPAA laws. You can't talk about somebody's status of health. Can't be done. So what I'm saying is, it just seems like every way you look, there's something that impedes real progress from happening. Before, we used to complain when they put cameras on the street. People felt it was an invasion of privacy. So they made phones with 4 cameras, and look at us giving up rights freely. Yeah. I'll say this. Perfect example. I moved here to Ohio from Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., they have red light cameras. They have cameras set up that will, if you're going too fast down the street, they'll take a picture. Yeah, they have if you run a red light, they will send you a ticket in the mail. Now, There are places where they tried to do that, and the people do a mutiny. Say, police, do your work. Now, in some states, that will fly. Where, yeah, it'll stop. I came here, there are no red light cameras. There are no speed cameras. You don't have to worry about this stuff. 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody out there, just run through the light. You cannot do that in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. You will get a ticket in the mail for $200. So if there's that much overregulation on driving, there needs to be some type of regulation on gun ownership. I mean, man, is that too much? Are red light cameras and speed cameras too much? That's a little bit off the topic, but yeah. Let's go over here and look at the poll. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the page. Share this video out. So the poll. 71% of people say they don't own a gun. 29% say they do. So it's kind of in line with what they were saying. More people don't own guns. So if only 30% of America's gun owners legally, I think those, what does that percentage go to? 29%. What does that percentage go to if you add in the criminal element? Does it double? Does it double? Does it just go up a few points? Because I don't think that 29%, what percentage of guns do we want to attribute to underworld, the criminal element? 10%? 10 more percent? 20 more percent? What do y'all think? Their idea is to take away your rights, not address the issue. Put a rug up on you. You need to fill out form 4473 unless it's a private. Oh, okay. That's how you get a tank. Fill out form 4473. Dark Star, I gotta keep you around. You're a wealth of information. Like a female me. Got a whole lot of information in that head. Joint Chief said, I cannot possess a firearm, so this is not my fight, but I do feel a certain type of way about it. I'm not trying to pry Joint Chief staff, but why can't you own a gun? Is it what I think? I don't want to assume. But if you don't own a gun and you can't possess, I'm just like, no need to answer, Joint Chief. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you, brother. Joint Chief said, nope, not can I vote, so I can't even have a choice in it. See, that's now I know exactly why. See, that's my issue, man. You've paid your price, and you paid your price. You're back in the world, but you don't have all the rights that you had before you went. But you paid your price, so you should be able to vote. You're a law-abiding citizen now. Yeah, I'm Joint Chief, man. I feel for you, bro, because yeah, I most definitely do not feel that if you've paid your penance and you back in the life, you should be able to vote. Just because you went to jail and you have a felony, I don't think that precludes you from voting for the person that you feel is going to benefit your life the best. It's just my thinking. It's just my I don't understand. I don't understand that. Just because I went to jail, I can't vote. I got a felony. I can't vote for the president. That's bullshit. Dark Star, okay. Dark Star said, unless it's private sale, you still need to fill it. Okay. Now I know how to go buy a tank if I so need one. What kind of driver's license you need to drive a tank? In Mitchell, when I was in high school, students had the gun racks with the rifle on their pickup. Yeah. I went to school with white guys that I'm still cool with to this day. I know white dudes that had gun racks with shotguns in their cars in the school parking lot. In the school parking lot, they had gun racks in their cars with shotguns in them. Different times we live in. Different times we live in. But yeah, I went to school with dudes that had gun racks in their trucks. Yeah, sure did. Crazy. But yeah, I went to school with dudes that had gun racks on their pickup trucks. Joint T said, wonder why they haven't just considered online schooling like they did with COVID. It may be self-isolation, but clearly folks are being forced on top of each other with overpopulation so hard to. I'm gonna have to do some research on that because I want to see what the average. I don't know what the average class size is now. I don't know what the average. Do we have any teachers? Do we have any teachers in the chat? What's the average class size in a middle school or high school? Like 20 to 30, somewhere 20 to 30. Have a truckload of strange and crack. Yeah, joint cheese. Yeah, yeah. Mr. Michael, Mr. Mitchell, they also didn't need it because there would be a circle of people after school waiting to fight. You see a fight now, folks afraid to get them very. Hey man, you win some, you lose some. I don't know anybody that won all their fights. It's always somebody tough. It's always somebody tough. Now, some people, it may take a long, long time to find that person that's tougher. But yeah, there's always somebody out there tougher. Best believe that. I've seen that happen too. Usually, them people they get knocked out by somebody unlikely. Like, damn, he knocked him out. Right, right. That's what I said, Dark Star. It's not up to the federal government to regulate gun laws. It's state rights. Just like the states can tell the government, you can't tell us what to do about our gun. Yeah, they have to be the ones to regulate it. And when you're talking about states like Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, North Carolina, these are places where people hunt. These are places where people have guns. They hunt. So it's up to the state to regulate that. The federal government can't. The federal government can't regulate everything. They can mess it up. And Mitchell said, yes, we threw hands. Ain't no hand throwing now. Ain't no hand throwing now. I want to give a RIP to Rich Homie Quan. Rich Homie Quan, rapper from Atlanta, Georgia, passed away this morning. And we want to send our condolences to his family. But 29% of the people in here is, yeah, I mean, so no one is, maybe I'm not down that far yet, but wow. And Mitchell said these youngsters, they are little britches. Little britches? They little britches. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bunch of little britches. As sad, Joint Chief said, as sad as it sounds, people with mental health are being held to the same standards as people that don't have it behind what they do. You can be quadriplegic and do that, and people would feel sympathy. I'll say this. When a black person that has mental health issues commits a crime, they never, their mental health issues never get pointed out. They get put in jail. But when a non-black person has mental issues, that becomes the focus. And that's the prime difference in there's different tactics. Because when a black person with mental issues is in court, those mental issues get pushed to the side. Whereas people that don't look like us, when they have mental issues, that's the forefront. That's what's supposed to talk about. Oh, mental issues may have this person had mental issues, but yes, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I do know how I feel about it, but when people say that there is no racism, there's so many things that I can point out, and that's one of the things I can point out is how the difference in how people with mental issues get treated depending on their color, or how they get policed depending on their color. So yeah, most time when black people have mental issues, those mental issues don't matter. Reagan destroyed mental health back in the 80s. These folks aren't getting the help they need. This is why people call police instead of therapeutic help for those that are hurting. So basically, you're saying these people need to go to the hospital, but they get policed instead of getting medical help. I think that's how I read that. Darkstar said, gun ownership is a right. Driving is a privilege. Yes. You have a right to own a gun, but you do not have a right to drive. Driving is a privilege, and they're trying to make driving a privilege. I agree with you on that, Darkstar. Gun owner, yeah, everybody can own a gun. Everybody can't drive. Joint, as well as felons and veterans, God bless our veterans, but it's not crazy how we provide good employment and housing opportunities, and they have seen and done worse than some felons who can't. You're right. You're right. PTSD. I mean, the thing about it, the thing about soldiers is they go over to wherever they've been and they be a soldier. And we know what soldiers do. So when you go over and you be a soldier and then you come back here and they just want you to just go back to being normal, it's kind of hard to go from soldiering to being normal. And I think that when they come back from soldiering, they don't get the care and the nurture that they need. Because you can't just cut the soldier switch off and go back to living in the civilian world. It doesn't work like that. It's not how the brain works. Same people crazy how we're crazy how we are brainwashed to accept stuff that the top folks want us to be on with. Joint, I already knew. I already knew I already knew, brother. I already knew. But we gonna change that. You need Joint Chiefs in the city where you're at. You need to look up the Community Action Agency. They have them in every city. Look up the Community Action Agency and go talk to them because they have programs where you can get that wiped off after depending on depending on what that Peloton is, they can get that wiped off. So yeah, look up the Community Action Agency in the city where you're at and reach out to them. Selective sympathy. Selective sympathy. For real. Oh, I do have the number set up to do call-ins. I do have the number set up, but I'm gonna use it next week. I didn't have time to get it set up today. This was, like I said, this was on the fly. But if somebody has something to say, I will put the link out. You're more than welcome to come up here. You're more than welcome. I'll put the link out. But yeah. Ronald Reagan destroyed mental health. That is why soldiers can't get any help. I believe that. I believe that. Joint Chief said, and that's with all due respect to our soldiers, our country, and flag. That has me baffled. Proof of brainwashing and what they want us to believe is fine. Yeah, man. Right now, there are migrants getting more money than veterans. There's migrants that's getting more money than veterans. Migrants are living better than veterans. They're staying in a 5-star hotel. Joint Chief said Maas were fights and bacon and eggs. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. 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 But yeah, guns. I think, I hate to say this, but with the way things are regulated now, school shootings are just inevitable. School shootings are inevitable. And you have students who are, they're not fully developed mentally. Their critical thinking skills aren't fully developed, and their conflict resolution is not developed. So you're going to have these type of situations where somebody gets mad at school and they're going to go get daddy's gun, or they're going to go get their gun. And I hate to say it, but with the way the gun regulations are now, and like Darkstar said, the federal government can put a mandate out, but state writes rules. So it's up to the states. What is Georgia going to do? Every state where there's been a school shooting, what is that state going to do to regulate gun ownership? Federal government gives you the legislation, state government enacts it, enforces it. Unless whatever you do is on a federal level. But yeah, states' rights rule. That's why gun ownership can't be regulated on a federal level. Like I said, one federal regulation can't cover 50 different gun ownership laws. Just can't. And then the NRA has made all this money off basically just going and invoking the Second Amendment. Joyce said, I'm 42 and behind most. I had to go through an all the time I lost or had to start over. I'm stunted in my growth still mentally. I'm just now understanding feelings and anxiety on all that. And that's the first step, brother. That's the first step, is you understand your plight. Now it's just, man, yeah, man. I commend you. I commend you because, yeah, you working your way back. And there's so many obstacles that are put in front of you that are trying to hold you back, because really, when you got back out, they're thinking that you're going to be back. They saving that spot for you. And you proving them wrong. Every day that you out here in the life, you proving them wrong, because believe me, they got that spot held for you. And when you leave, most of the time, them more nasty corrections officers, they be telling you, I'm be here waiting for you. So, yeah, man, I commend you. I commend you, Joint Chiefs, man. Stay on the road you on. It's going to get easy. It don't get harder. Wow. And Mitchell said Georgia going to get thoughts and prayers. Wow. Okay, man. Yeah, man. Come with slowing down and living a normal life. Hey, man. Hey, man. Ain't nothing wrong with a slow nickel. Slow nickel grow just like a fast dollar. Terrence Horton, what's good, brother? What's good for Kentucky may not be good for California, and vice versa. Right. Because I don't think there's too much hunting being done in California. But it's a lot of hunting. It's hunting season in Kentucky. That's what I'm saying. Is as long as you got hunting season and you got rifles, people gonna have guns. But Terrence, do you think how do we regulate assault rifles and them not being brought into schools? Hey y'all, Terrence Horton is running for county commission in the state of Kentucky. He's a black man running for city council here in Kentucky. Go check him out. Look him up. We're gonna go out on election day. We're gonna make sure the terrorists get in that city councilman seat. So yeah, we got a city councilman candidate in here tonight, y'all. And you're right. What's good for Kentucky might not be good for California. And that's the that's the crux of this is people complain to the federal government and Congress and Senate and say, what are y'all gonna do about guns, and what are y'all gonna do about AR-15s? What are y'all gonna do about assault rifles? It's not the federal government's job. The federal government comes up with legislation for the states to enforce. So it's states, because states' rights. States have to enforce that. So basically, when this stuff happens, we have to look at the state and say, what is Georgia going to do? What is Georgia going to do about their gun laws to change them where they don't make it to schools, make it into schools? Florida, what are they going to do? What did Colorado do after Columbine? What did they do? So I think when you're looking at stuff like that, you have to look at places where it's happened. What did they do? And use it as a blueprint to move forward. But the current way that things are set up, school shootings are inevitable. Coming up on an hour and 15 minutes into the show, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the page. We are going to talk about topics that people don't want to talk about. We're going to talk about topics that people don't want to talk about. But we got 14 people who just got shot at a school yesterday in Georgia. 4 of those 14 people have passed away. One of those 4 people was one of the football coaches. It was a football coach. There was another older lady that was shot and killed, and there were 2 younger students. They haven't really put any information out about the other people that were shot, but I do know that the 4 people that passed away was one of the football coaches. I think one of the administrative workers, which is an older lady, and 2 students. So yeah, um, prayers to their families. RIP to them. Condolences to their families. Never want to see stuff like that happen. But when stuff like that happens, we, the people, have to come up with solutions. And these solutions, then you take them to your state, you take them to your local legislators. Because like I was saying the other day, we vote in a federal presidential election. But really, our power is in the state and the local government. That's where we as people can have a bigger impact. That's what people need to understand. Yeah, you get riled up because you want your candidate to win the presidency, right. But no matter who the presidency is, you still need to hold your local legislators and your state legislators' feet to the fire, because that's where your impact is going to be felt, is more on a local level as opposed to a federal level. Am I wrong? Am I right? What y'all think? Tara said, I don't think that's possible. Like you said, unfortunately, it's just gonna keep happening. Yeah. There's no way that one federal bill law is gonna be beholden to 50 different gun law. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. Tara said these kids are playing video games where they know how to use these things, and it's right, Tara. Sometimes I think that they think they got 3 men, like they got 3 lives, like Pac-Man. They can come back and do it. I have to explain them. I tell people there are no do-overs. Whatever you don't do now, whatever you don't experience now, there ain't no do-overs. You got to get out here and live. And Mitchell said, I can't blame this on video games. I played and friends played. We never pew. They have games worldwide, and other countries don't have this issue. Yeah, I can't blame it on games either, because I played Grand Theft Auto, I played Call of Duty, I play all kinds of shoot 'em up, chop their head off, and it don't make me want to go outside and kill nobody. So, but that's my mental aptitude. I can't speak for everybody's mental aptitude. Some people get wrapped up in it. But I can't put blame on the game. I can't put blame on games. I can't. Dark Star said parents are securing the weapons, teaching gun safety, or getting proper mental health for their children. You're right. You're right. Because these school shootings, the kids can't buy the guns. So they're getting the guns from somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, they're getting the guns from parents, or guns that weren't locked up properly, or guns that they had access to because, they're a family of hunters or things like that. But we talk about stuff like this, and sometimes it's depressing because you want to have a solution, but sometimes there is no solution in the current state that things are in. And that's what's kind of the depressing part, is you want to have a solution, but the way things are legislated and the way things are set up, you really can't come up with a solution. I think that could be purposely done, out of chaos. Chaos is a good thing to some people. Joint Chief said they are afraid of virtual school because a lot of families would go crazy having to be around each other that long. Then we would really have to address mental issues. COVID gave us that glimpse. Well, during COVID, I don't even want to. That was weird. Yeah, COVID, I was alone. Yeah, COVID was crazy. COVID was crazy. Joint Chief said, why else has the schools not gotten with the times and made that on? So basically, Joint Chiefs, what you're saying is that high school students should be doing online learning and not have to go into the classroom. I think that's a lot of I think that little bit of time where people weren't going outside, a lot of people weren't ready for that. A lot of people weren't ready for that. And I think that I wouldn't want to go to that. I wouldn't want to go to online learning for students because there needs to be more face-to-face interaction. I think that's the problem with things now, is that there's no face-to-face interaction. So when you do have face-to-face interaction and there's some type of discrepancy or type of dispute, that's why people instantly go to the guns, because if you are used to being by yourself, you don't have conflict resolution. So I just feel that students going to school and interacting, that's the real world, because you're not going to be able to work from home. You're not going to be able to work from home. In some cases you will be, but for the most part, you're going to have to go to somebody's place of employment. And if you are not enculturated enough to know how to deal and work with people, you're going to have a tough plight. You're going to have a tough plight. Now, there may be jobs where loners can, go to work, be quiet, do work, put your nose down, but that's kind of hard right now. People tend to, when you don't interact with everyone, people tend to look at you in different ways. So I just think that physical interaction that these youngsters are growing up and learn, I think this is central. I don't agree with them little youngsters went crazy sitting in the house. They went crazy sitting in the house. Yeah, they need to interact. They need to be face to face, because you're gonna have to learn how to deal with your problems. That's why you got people running up in schools now, is because, and usually the people that are running up in the school are the people that were the loners, the people that were the outcasts. They ate lunch alone. They didn't really people didn't interact with them. So I think more of non-interaction is going to create more problems. This is just how I think, Joint Chiefs. But I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, I just think that more isolation can't be a good thing. And the reason I say that is we know this because people go to the hole in jail for 90 days and they don't come out the same person. People need that interaction with other people. Joint Chief said, my thoughts and takes, but just because I think them just, hey man, all opinions and all statements are good here, man. We don't ridicule people for how they think or what they do, because there can be some good out of that. So no, we don't do you don't got to worry about that, Joint Chief. We don't do no ridiculing over here. This is a free speech. You say how you want to, as long as it's not racist, sexist, or anything like that. Yeah, man, speak your piece. We do not shame people for how they think. It's not what we do over here. Now, we may laugh, and we may, you know I'm fucking with you, Joint. Darkstar said, part of being in school is developing social interactions. C-19 changed that. It did change it. For the worse. For the worse. People need, that's the reason why people don't communicate now. And yeah, you have an influx where people only do online dating because of isolation. I just think people need to get out. You got to get out and be with the people. We're social. We weren't made to be alone. Joint Chief said, I have a 16-year-old that made $30K from selling drugs and bought a gun with the serial filed off. See, and YWG, being that you work with, you work. If you all don't know, not Joint Chiefs, YWG, he works for a youth facility. So some of the, we're talking about school shootings and things like that. Some of the students that are at the halfway house or at the Hooskow where YWG works at, these are some of the issues that he sees on a daily basis. So like when I brought up those ghost guns, those guys that he's dealing, yeah. And I know that I've had conversations with YWG, and we've talked about this. So you have these guys that have guns. You have these guys and these girls that have guns, but they don't even know how to. They don't even know how to only conflict resolution they know is pulling that trigger. And he'll tell you that 95% of them, they're not gonna ball their fist up to fight nobody. A gun is so a lot of these youngsters, they don't want to fight. A gun is a necessity for them. That's what's tough. Fighting and fending for yourself and fighting with your knuckles, that ain't tough no more. They look at that like that's a waste of time. My face gonna be, but yeah, crazy world we live in. Pain to entertain. Everything else is online, like online shopping, online. Yeah, but that's for a convenience, Joint Chiefs. Social interaction and learning, it can't be a convenience. If I had to do online learning and I was 11 years old, and I'd be looking at the young and the restless. Man, I wouldn't be paying attention to those. Man, I'm just being honest with you. I need physical interaction with people. That's how I was growing up. You leave me at home to do some work, I'm gonna be looking at TV. And that's what a lot of these students do, man. I think that the aptitude of students now is terrible. It's terrible. And C-19 has something to do with it. Not being able to have any physical interaction, it has something to do with that. I wholeheartedly believe that. And Mitchell said high schoolers should be working part-time, school part of the day. These children need to stay busy and make money to the point where they are tired during the week to get into student. Yeah, that would be a good thing. We had that. It was called vocation. But they closed all the vocational schools. They closed all the vocational schools, and now the streets that's where they get their vocation at, on the streets. And as we know, guns. Guns are a part of the learning curve living on the streets. And these kids they ahead of the learning curve that we was on, because you couldn't, I think in my 12 years of going to school, nobody never brought a gun to school. In my 12 years of going to school, nobody never brought no gun to school. No. A gun in school? That's some millennial stuff. You had to scrap. No guns. I never saw a gun. While I was in school, I didn't see a gun in school until I got to college. I didn't see no guns in elementary, middle school, high school. I never saw a gun in school. Outside of school, I seen a gun, but yeah, in school, no. Wasn't nobody thinking about coming to school and shooting up the school. That's the new generation. They don't have dance floors. Yeah, people don't dance no more, man. You go to the club, you go look at the club. You look at the videos of the club with these young kids. They sitting around on their phones. Everybody's on their phone in the club. Nobody's interacting, and that's C-19 as well. But yeah, it's got to be some. You learn critical thinking skills and social skills when you're in school. You decipher you learn what is a friend and what is not a friend. And I think that that's stuff that you can't learn online. You think somebody's your friend online and you'll mess around and get robbed or get killed, anything. But you can meet people and you have social interactions, and you can, this person ain't for me. This person ain't got my best. But doing that on learning on and pow pow. I think that I really think that there's not as much social interaction now as it was when we were younger. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have this stuff. So we had to interact. We had to talk to people. You want to get a girlfriend, you had to go on her face and talk to her. Now these dudes, they can talk to somebody online to get a girlfriend. Ain't never met them. It's a girlfriend though. It's a girlfriend though, but it's different. I was talking to somebody the other day about, RP the rich homie Quan, but they're saying that he OD'd. When we were growing up, we grew up on, and this ain't a good thing. We grew up on drug dealer rap. We grew up on drug dealer rap, fly boy rap, fly girl rap. That's what we grew up on. These kids now, they're growing up on dope fiend music. Every song talks about promethazine and popping pills and this, that, and the other, and gun culture. And I got the biggest gun. I got switches. And we didn't grow up like that. We grew up on, I'm going to sell these drugs to the fiends and I'm going to make some money. And then we're going to go party on the weekend. Now, these dudes is buying the drugs from the drug dealers and eating the drugs and then rapping about it. It's a different culture. It's a different time. So that's what I mean by, we didn't have these gun problems when we were growing up. What is it in society that's making these kids want to get guns to solve their problems? The worst you might do is you might get jumped when we was growing up. You might get jumped. But you're going to be on the bus the next day, and a week later, y'all going to be playing basketball again. True story. True story. Some of the dudes that I had fights with when I was young is some of my best friends now. When you're young, you go through those types of things. Iron sharpens iron, even in fighting. Yeah, there are no more school dances. You can't have school dances no more. The kids come, and you know this, Terrence. Just 2 months ago in Florence, the guy, they was having a graduation party. The guy came and shot the party up and killed like 3 people. You can't even have a graduation party without somebody coming disgruntled, mental health issues, kill up some people at the party, and then drive down the street and kill themselves. It's a crazy world we living in. But the purpose of this conversation is, it's just the sign of the times. Do we just have to get used to this? I can never get used to waking up and seeing 14 people shot and 4 people dead at a high school, and a 14-year-old student was a person that shot all these people. That is never going to be normal to me. It's never going to be normal. It shouldn't be normal to anyone. But what can be done so that this isn't normalized? What can be done so that this isn't normalized? Because it's becoming normal. If there's been 416 school shootings since Columbine happened in 1999, that's a crazy number. We're not talking about shootings just on the street. We're talking about inside a school. 416 schools have been shot up. That's crazy. No matter how you look at that, that is crazy. 400 school shootings in America alone. I don't think there's over 100 worldwide put together, but there's 400 times that this has happened in America since 1999, and something needs to be done about it. But as we've talked about in this conversation, it's kind of a hard task. It's kind of a hard task. Every state can't be like New York, and if you get caught with a gun, you go to jail for 5 years. To me, that's kind of draconian. That's a police, that's a prison state mindset. Because we know people, I don't understand how they were able to get that law across in New York where you cannot possess a gun. How was New York able to do that? I mean, is the Second Amendment not is the Second Amendment works everywhere else, but not New York? Dark Star always got the good points. Dark Star always with the good points. And Mitchell said, I saw a roller skate rink in my area the other day. Didn't think that was a thing. Yeah. Kids be wilding. That they do. Fight or flight mode. They pew pew and run. They pew pew and run. When you're young, all you want to do is fight. Well, when I slept in the streets or in the other undesirable places, I always in defensive in the world, that is dangerous. So it's like I'm learning adult life. You was learning gladiator life. Joint Chiefs. That's a gladiator life, man. Glad you out the gladiator state of mind. It's refreshing, ain't it? When you was living like that, with pew pew on you, you in a different state of mind now. Like you said, you got your woman. Yeah, man. Man. You can't just listening to what you're saying, brother. You've come a long way. You've come a long way, man. But race ain't stopped yet, man. We still running. We still running. Yeah, on the fly, learning on the fly. 42 don't always mean 42 mentally. Sometimes life can mentally stunt you and set you back years. Yeah, it can. It can. It can. But you can always get that knowledge to bring yourself back current, man. Yeah, don't let that be no crutch. Don't let that be no crutch. We not gonna let you let that be no crutch. The whole talk back then was who was gonna fight who, and everyone wanted front row seats, and we would play tap football, getting out our aggression through sports. And yeah, man, that's how we dealt with. That's how we, that's how we got our emotions out. That's how we got our emotions out. But yeah, can we come up with a solution for gun violence? Is it possible? Is it possible to come up with a solution for gun violence? We are at an hour and 39 minutes. You know what? While I got y'all, hold on. I'm not. I got to do something. I'm not going nowhere, but it's tonight is the first night of NFL season, and the Ravens are playing the Chiefs at 8:30. It's almost kickoff time. So we talking about gun violence, but who's gonna win the game tonight? The Ravens or the Mahomians? I'm putting my money on. Y'all already know who I'm putting my money on. LJ. Lamar gonna do his thing tonight. Lamar is gonna do his thing tonight. But talking about a serious topic here. Gun violence. And we've talked about different solutions. We've talked about different, methods. But I don't think in all this conversation we had, we were able to come up with a solution. And I think that the reason we're not able to come up with a solution is purpose. It's purpose. It's purpose. Because if there's been 416 shootings inside schools since 1999, I'm pretty sure there's some type of solution, even a workaround that could, be done to kind of prevent this, even a Band-Aid. But I don't think nothing's been done because you have organizations like NRA, and don't get me wrong, the NRA does some good for people, for gun owners, but sometimes the fights that they fight are it's like, come on. It's not. Some of the arguments are not ethically based. We'll just say that. Ethics comes into a lot, and sometimes when money, donations, and things of that nature get brought into the scenario, ethics goes out the window. Money will do that. Money will make people turn a blind eye to a bad thing. And there's been 416 school shootings and countless other murders, shootings, violent acts on top of that, where you have to look at some things like they're done purposely. Some of this stuff is purpose. You just look at it and you can tell it's done on purpose. How can the narrative be changed? Can the narrative be changed? In the current state, I don't think so. And it's proven. There's been 416 school shootings since 1999. They haven't slowed down. They sped up. They haven't slowed down. They sped up. So, what we gonna do? As a people, as a community, as humans, what can we do to combat this? See? Oh, okay. People came back. I was like, dang, I said something about the Ravens game and everybody left. But what can we do? Can we do anything? As a community of people, is there anything that we can do to combat gun violence rather than legislating people to not being able to have certain types of guns? Is there anything? What can we do? What can we do? Or, like we said, is this just the way of the world now? The way things are gonna be? I mean, what I'm saying is we can't let this be normalized. We can't let people in the beginnings of their life who are just learning what it is to be a human, what it is to be a young adult. It can't be normal to see these people die dead online. It can't be. It can't be normal. This can't be the way that things are gonna be. I think it's left up to us, being the older, the wiser adults. I think it's up to us to kind of lead the way and show the children that are behind us, like, man, we didn't have to pick up guns. I mean, we didn't have to pick up guns to solve problems. Talk them out or you squab them out. And after you squab them out, you dusted each other off, you shook hands. Sometimes. But you lived another day. I don't think anybody did anything to me growing up that would have made me mad enough to walk into the school and then shoot 14 of the people that I went to school with. I don't think so. I don't think so. Other than the only thing that would make me pick up a gun or pick up a gun to somebody is if somebody did something to my mama, my nieces, my nephews, my family. And then it would have to be something unforgivable. Because I can't really think of things that would make me want to take another person's life through gun violence. I don't know. But like I said, conflict resolution skills. Conflict resolution. It's real big. I think that there should, in schools, I think that they need to have some type of sociology class where conflict resolution, where they talk about these things to students at an earlier age. Because it just seems like these students, they don't have conflict resolution skills. The only way they know how to solve conflicts is through a pew-pew. I got a cousin that got killed 2 nights ago from a pew-pew. You know what I'm saying? This touches everybody. Yeah, I got a cousin that got killed by a pew-pew 2 nights ago. I got a funeral that I'm going to have to go to in a few days. Because I don't know the circumstances. I just know that out of the situation, my cousin got pew-pew. So that's another reason why I want to talk about this tonight, because it hits close to me. I lost a family member. Regardless of what he was doing or whatever the case, I lost a family member to gun violence 2 nights ago. So I wanted to talk about this. It's just been gun violence is at an all-time high. And usually when we're talking about school shootings, these are mass shootings. I didn't really get to go through the rest of the information, but I'm going to go back to the key data from the Pew Research Institute's research study on key facts about Americans and guns. Now, the first one we talked about is that they said 40% of all Americans live in a household with a gun, with 32% of those people being the actual gun owners. So basically 40% of the houses in America have guns, and of that 40%, 32% of the people were actual gun owners. So 8% of those people may not have owned a gun, but they lived in a household where guns were kept. Look at the poll one more time. It's still at 71%. They don't own a gun. 29% of people do own a gun. Oh, that's a penalty. So, number 2 is personal protection tops the list of reasons gun owners give for having a firearm. And we've already discussed that. We said that was, if you have a house, you got a wife, you got children, yeah, you probably need to have a gun in your house. Like I said, I'm single. I live alone. I've never owned a gun, but I may need to change that because, like I said, I've had 4 or 5 of my buddies. My best friend told me I need to get a gun. Everybody has told me I need to get a gun, but I still have not bought a gun yet. I don't know. I don't know if I want to buy a gun. Darkstar said we need to bring back the asylums and sanitary. Yes. Yes. They don't have them anymore. They don't have mental institutions no more. They just throw these people in jail. They don't have. Yeah, you 100% right, Darkstar. They need to bring back the asylum and the mental health places where people that have mental problems can be at, where they can get the proper help that they need. That's what we need. That is 100% what we need. Number 3 was gun owners tend to have much more positive feelings about having a gun in the house than non-owners who live with them do. And I would say that's how my stepfather has guns, shotguns, pistols, AR-15, and my mother hates it. My mother hates it. My mother hates the fact that my stepfather has guns, but my stepfather's like, I grew up with guns. We used to hunt. So having a gun in the house is something that he grew up with. It gives him a feeling of comfort to have a pistol or a shotgun in his house. So if someone were to come in the house, he would have a way to protect the household. So I can understand that. But yeah, lots of people who have lived with people who have guns in the house, they don't necessarily agree with the guns being in the house, but they understand that it's in some places it's a necessity to have a gun in the house for protection. So yeah, I can see that. Number 4, non-gun owners are split on whether they see themselves owning a gun, owning a firearm in the future. And that's me. I don't know. I don't know if I want to. People keep telling me I need to buy a gun, I need to have a gun. I just have not crossed that hump yet to say I'm gonna get a gun. I ain't crossed that hump just yet, but I don't know. Or affordable therapy or facilities. You're right about that, Joint Chiefs. It's global eugenics since the 70s. Yep. I would say, yeah, 70s, 75, in around that range. Yeah, busing era, yeah, all that. Yep. You 100% right, Darkstar. I just want to be able to throw hands in peace and don't like guns anyway because you can't fight a bullet. Hey, man, Joint Chiefs, man, we might have to get you signed up for MMA. You signed up for MMA, man. You signed up for MMA, man. It's like you sitting over there with your fist balled up, man. We might have to get you in the MMA, man. So number 5, a majority of Americans, 61%, say it's too easy to legally obtain a gun in this country. And I agree with that. Like I said, I can go to the pawn shop with my license and walk out with an AK. SK, as long as it's not fully automatic. I can go into the pawn shop and buy a semi-automatic assault rifle right now with just my driver's license. So it is, and you can go down any street there are neighborhoods where I can go, $75, give me a gun. $75. Places I go right now. I could get off the show, go somewhere, And I can come back here in 30 minutes and I can pull a pistol on the screen. So yeah, it is easy to get guns. Darkstar said, I see guns differently. I see it as target practice, ballistics, and mechanics. No different than pool, darts, or bowling. You're right. You're right. It is. But a lot of people don't look at it like that. A lot of people look at it like, you say something to me, I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to blast you with the jammy. They're not looking at it like, oh, I'm going to target practice. You know, I want the ballistics and the mechanics. If I shoot the gun, the bullet goes in it doesn't go in a straight line and go. Yeah, there's all types of things we could talk about in terms of that. But yeah, BOW! That's what we usually hear about. Sportsmen, I see that as well. That's why I believe it's not guns, but the people who should not have them is the issue. Yeah, but the thing about that joint is somebody's going to call prejudice. Somebody's going to say, I'm being prejudged. You are prejudicing me by, and we've seen it. Some people have said that because you are able to know their mental health background, that you're prejudicing them from being able to basically being able to assert their Second Amendment right. They say that having a mental health shouldn't stop them from having a gun. Now, we don't agree with that. We don't agree with that, but it's people out here who are saying that just because I have a mental issue can't prejudice me from having a gun. Is that right or is that wrong? Man, I wish I really had somebody that was really, well, YWG is pro-gun. I think for the most part, yeah, Darkstar is pro-gun. I think we're all pro-gun, but I think, we've all said it. Mental aptitude. Should you have to take a mental aptitude test to, should that be a part of the gun ownership process? See, you can see I have no real stance. It's not my fight. I have no, yeah, I don't have a gun, but that don't mean that, I want people that want a gun to not have a gun. I don't believe in that. Like I said, I've held guns, I've shot guns, but it's just not something that, I don't know. Just never have a desire to have a gun. Holding the gun in my hand didn't make me feel. It made me scared because I understood the power that I had in my hand. So I wasn't like, oh yeah. I was like, it's a whole lot of power. You got a power of you have the power to take a person's life in your hands. That scared me. Even when I've been to the gun range, sometimes I'm hearing that bow. Even though I'm the one that's shooting it, that shit's still scary. Bow! It's because I don't like guns. And then a shotgun, this should have your shoulder hurt. It ain't fun shooting no shotgun, putting that butt of that gun on your shoulder. Yeah, my shoulder hurt for about 2 weeks after I shot the daggone shotgun. Yeah, it's cool, but it wasn't fun to me. Shooting the gun was fun, but I don't know. I didn't like the shotgun. Hurt my shoulder. But if I was to get a gun and have a gun in the house, it'll probably be a shotgun. Because if somebody come in my house and they hear that, they probably gonna turn around. Because if you got that shotgun and you just cha-cha, they know what that sound means. Oh yeah, they know what that sound means. If they hear that clack out, they know it's gonna be a whole bunch of buckshots coming. So sometimes you don't even have to. But yeah, you know they always say don't pull a gun out unless you're gonna use it. But if somebody come in your house and they hear that and they look in their hand, they got a 32, they might turn around. That might save you. So yeah. Number 6, about 6 in 10 U.S. adults favor stricter gun laws. Another 26 say the U.S. gun laws are about right where they are. And 15% people say they need to lessen the strictness of the gun laws. Now, I don't believe we need to lessen. We don't need to lessen the strictness of the gun laws. And I'm not saying that they need to be more stricter, but there needs to be some type of enforcement mechanism or like I said, a clearinghouse where they're clearing. Maybe they need to have a clearinghouse with HIPAA so that if a person, you want to check a person's mental background, they should have a HIPAA clearinghouse. So that if a person has had, if you've been in a mental health institution, I don't think you should own a gun. I don't think you should own a gun. It's just my thoughts. People can become unhinged. People can become unhinged. So, and if you don't have all the marbles up there, your unhingedness might be a little bit too much. Number 7, there is a broad partisan agreement on some gun policy proposals, but most are politically divisive. That means that one side is going to like it and the other side isn't going to like it. So they're just going to be butting heads. And that's what's going on right now. You got people who say that nobody should be able to have, whoa. Nobody should be able to have a assault rifle. And you have people to say that there shouldn't be any restrictions on assault rifles. Scored a game 7-7. The Chiefs just ran a touchdown after the Ravens had scored. So it's 7-6. They're going for the extra point. So that's what I meant by saying that it's purposely done. It's purposely done because they know that these two sides are never going to agree on anything when it comes to AR-15s. Because you got people to say it's nothing more than a hunting rifle, even though you can't hunt with it. And you got people to say that to nobody had a gun. It's too powerful. And then the thing about it is you have Republicans and Democrats who are on both sides of that argument. So it's not a partisan argument. It's a personal argument. And that's why there's never going to be agreement on that. It's set up that way. Joint Chief said Cheddar Bob had a gun once, then he shot his own. Oh, well, here we go. He shot his own stick off. Dark Star Joint, you have, yeah, you got your right, yeah. Even Joint, man, even though you can't vote, you still got a right to your opinion. And you can still voice your opinion on the local level. You can still vote. Just because you can't vote don't mean you can't voice your opinion. They can stop your vote. They can't stop your opinion. I don't know why I keep saying Voight. I got John Voight. I got John Voight on my mind. So I watched one of his movies earlier. Dark Star. Big ups. I just think that some people's opinion matter more than you can't think like that, Joint Chief. I just think that some people's opinions matter more than mine behind they know what they're talking about in this subject. I don't know, but have a pick. Man, we learning together, brother. Don't none of us have all the answers. We going through this, we going through life together, man. So we all learning. So nah, don't feel like that, brother. Don't never feel like that. Not in here. Not in here, brother. Your opinion still matters. Still matters. Dark Star said mental health question is asked on the legal form. If you lie on the form, you can be arrested and fined. Ask Hunter Biden. Yeah, he's about to go to jail. Wow. Joint Chief said he thinks he wants to open a strip club, call it Tits and Tacos. Okay. And tacos. This dude, wow. You can't own a gun if you have been declared mentally adjudicated. Right. Right. But there are some people that haven't been to a mental institution. They aren't diagnosed and they self-medicate. What about those people, Dark Star? We have a lot of people that are undiagnosed that are self-medicating. We have a lot of people that are self-medicating. That was funny. That was funny, Joint Chiefs. Tits and tacos, man. You a wild guy. But yeah, the call-in line will be active next Tuesday. I got the number set up. I got the phone set up. So yeah, it will be set up. Let's go bring some interesting things. Number 8 on the Pew Research. The public remains closely divided over whether it's more important to protect gun rights or control gun ownership. So do you want to protect gun rights or control gun ownership? Or can you do both? Can both be done? Oh no. And then Dark Star don't come and say, we got a bar in Fort Worth called the Fuzzy Taco. We know what the Fuzzy Taco is. So, can both be done? Can you both protect gun rights and control gun ownership, or is that impossible? What do we think, y'all? Is it impossible? Can it be done? Can you protect gun rights while controlling gun ownership? Probably not, because there's going to be a person that says, well, I want this gun and you won't let me buy it. So I don't think that there could ever be a consensus. I don't think there could ever be a consensus on that. I hate to say it, but yeah, I don't think there could ever be a consensus on it. Just like I don't think there will ever be a consensus on, it's going to be hard to get any gun law, any gun bill. It's going to be hard to get it through because, like I said, on that argument, there's people on both sides. There's Republicans and Democrats who agree with gun rights, and there's Republicans and Democrats who agree with gun control. So it's kind of impossible for there ever to be a consensus on that when you got people from both sides of the aisle who agree with people from other sides of the aisle. It's just kind of hard. That's one of those things where they're gonna have to throw a whole lot of pork in somebody's bill or a whole So I don't never see that. I don't ever see that being able to happen just based off the nuances of everything. Number 9, Americans are slightly more likely to say gun ownership does more to increase safety than to decrease it. But study just came out yesterday that said less guns, less violence. So I don't know. I guess you would, if you own a gun, you'll feel more safer when you have your gun. But I think it's just out of you're used to having a gun on you. And having a gun on you might not save you all the time. It's a deterrent. Shootouts, somebody loses. It's just the honest truth. I got diagnosed a year ago, 15 years ago with bipolar and PTSD. I self-medicate with marijuana. I don't even know if they consider it since last paperwork and diagnosis and decline medic. If you know that medication don't make you feel right, man, it's just. But yeah, Joint Chiefs, if you need to talk to somebody, you just need to go talk to somebody. So you know when you start getting those anxiety feelings, those feelings of frustration, you know you probably need to talk to somebody so that those aggressions don't grow. But man, you man, the way you talk, man, you good, man. Man, you ain't getting ready to go out here and do. You not getting ready to go out here and do nothing that's out of whack. Your head is on straight. You got that good woman next to you. And sometimes that's all another breed. That's all a brother needs to calm that fire is a good woman. And you got that. You got that, brother. Dark Star said, my doctor said I was crazy 20 years ago and I still have guns. Oh, no. Your doctor said you was crazy 20 years ago, Dark Star? And I still have guns. That's because you weren't diagnosed. Your doctor was joking with you. But yeah, like I said, I've never owned a gun. That may be changing. I'm not sure yet. I'm getting peer pressured into buying a gun. I'm getting peer pressured at 50 to buy a gun. Number 10 on the Pew Center's research. More than half of U.S. adults say an increase in the number of guns in the country is bad for society. More guns, more violence. More guns, more violence? Is that true? Or is it more guns, less violence? Everybody knows everybody has a gun. Is everybody less likely to confront people? Will more guns lead to less confrontation? Oh, whoa, whoa. Will that lead to less confrontation? More guns, less confrontation, or more guns, more death? What do we think, y'all? What do we think? More guns, more death? More guns, more safety? Where we at with it, y'all? I'm still here. I just got to do something real quick. Number 11 on the Pew Center's list. About half of Americans, 49%, see gun violence as a major problem. I think that's I see gun violence as a major problem. What are the other 51% thinking? Is gun to everybody in the chat? Is gun violence a problem? Is gun violence a problem? Yeah, Dark Star got the dark humor. Yeah, she does have the dark humor. And she said, that's why I'm dark. Wow. And then Joint gonna come and say, I got a screw on with no washer. Oh man, you tight, you tight, you tight, you tight. Okay, Dark Star. I started to open a lesbian bar 20 years ago, and I wanted to call it the Steamy Beaver. Oh wow. The Steamy Beaver? Well, there's a lesbian bar that's at the end of the block where I live at, and it's called the Crazy Fox. And then this dude, Joint Chief, said he gonna open a whorehouse next door and call it Beaver Busters. Okay, let's get back to the guns. Let's get back to the guns. Y'all starting to get on. Yeah, y'all starting to get on butter. We're not talking guns and butter tonight. We're talking guns. So number 12, a majority of public K through 12 teachers, 59%, say they are at least somewhat worried about the possibility of a shooting ever happening at their school, including 18% who are very or extremely worried. So let's break this down. It's 2024. So it's 25 years. It's 25 years since Columbine. So we got 25. We got 416 divided by 25. 416 divided by 25, and that comes out to 17 school shootings a day. I mean, a year. 17 school shootings, an average of 17 school shootings a year. Do we think that that's a little bit out of whack? Do we think that's a little bit out of whack? 17 school shootings, an average of 17 school shootings a year. Dark Star said our guns kept the Japanese off of American soil during World War II. Yeah, but it's going to be hard now because the war is going to start from inside America because we've let all of our enemies have people that live within the country. So if anything kicks off, it's going to kick off inside of America first. Wow. Hey man, I'm great. I'm going to leave all these beavers, shaved beaver, the steamy beaver, beaver busters. We're gonna leave all that. We're gonna leave all that in y'all's minds. I'm not gonna. Y'all are wilding out tonight. But you are right, Dark Star. Guns and internment camps. Responsible gun ownership is the problem. Is it a problem because there aren't a lot of responsible gun owners, or is it what's the problem, Dark Star? Okay, and that number 12 was the last of the key facts about guns and Americans by the Pew Research Center. So I have the follow up to the Pew Center. See, yeah, y'all tripping. How many people die from gun related injuries in the US each year? 2021 was the last year that they were able to complete, where the complete data is available. And in 2021, 48,830 people died from gun-related injuries in the United States. And that figure includes gun murders and gun suicides. And of those 48,830 murders or gun deaths, 43% were murders, 54% were suicides, and 3% were other. I don't know what, they don't really say what designates other. I guess those are accidental. Okay, that 3% is accidental gun deaths, which were 549, and deaths involving law enforcement, which were 537. And then there were 458 gun deaths that were undetermined. 50,000 people were killed in gun-related injuries in 2021. 50,000. 50. Think about that, you all. 50,000 people died in 2021 because of gun-related injuries. $50,000. I don't know how many. I think that that's a bigger problem than opiates. I think that's a bigger problem than opiates. Okay, I'm gonna put this one up one last time, and only because Dark Star laughed at it. So yeah, this dude came with the shaved beaver, and then Dark Star said, "Okay, stop it, Weekend." She just spit out a drink. Quick. 50,000, y'all. 26,000 were suicides. 26,328 were suicides. 20,958 were murders. So is gun violence a bigger is it a bigger issue than suicides? In the bigger scheme of things about guns, is suicide a bigger issue than murders? Because suicides brings out the mental health component. What y'all think? Are suicides more of a problem than murders? I mean, there's more people that are dead from suicides. Are we neglecting? Are we neglecting mental health? Does there need to be an enhanced focus on mental health awareness as it comes to gun violence? 6,000 more people killed themselves than there were murders. 6,000. 6,000. Is the mental health component of gun violence of greater importance than murders? So the mental health component comes back into focus when we look at those numbers. What do y'all think? So the reflected, there was a 23% increase in murder and in gun-related deaths from 2019 to 2021 when these numbers were. So basically, it went up 23%. So where it was 48,000 the year before, it was about 10,000 deaths less. So it was probably like 38 or 39,000. That's still a lot of deaths attributed to guns. Am I looking at it? Am I looking at it? How am I looking at it, y'all? I mean, the overall increase in U.S. gun deaths since the beginning of the pandemic includes an especially stark rise in such fatalities among children and teens under the age of 18. Gun deaths among children and teens rose 50% in just 2 years. In 2019, from 2,590, no, from 1,732 in 2019 to 2,590 2 years later. From 1,700 to 2,500 in 2 years. And I'll say this. Most of the murders that you see on TV now, they're all young people. There was a triple murder in Louisville, a triple shooting, and 2 people died like 3 weeks ago in Louisville. Everybody was under 20, 25. There's just really a lack of disregard for life. There's a stark disregard for life. Like I said, these kids think they have more than one man. They think they got 3 men, like on Pac-Man. They think they're gonna get an extra man at 10,000. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but there's just really a blatant disregard for the love of life. Because these kids, they're just starting life. So to have such what is going on in society? What is going on in society where children under 18 feel that their only recourse for conflict is a gun. What's going on in society to bring this about? That's the real question. That's the real question. What is happening in society? Where children under 18 feel their only recourse is a gun. I saw a story the other day where a 12-year-old killed a lady and her son for something. Shot him dead. A 12-year-old killed a lady and her son. And they haven't said what the motive was or anything. I think the kid wanted some candy or didn't get something that he wanted. So something needs to be done. Now, whether that is individually as gun owners or in totality, in terms of gun restrictions. What y'all think? Like I said, I'm not a gun owner. So I'm not a gun owner. So my outlook on this is kind of skewed. Because like I said, I've never liked guns. I've never liked guns. So my outlook on it is probably kind of different. I know a lot of people that when they turned 16, they got their first guns when they turned 16. So yeah, I I've seen it from both sides. Like I said, I know kids that when they was 13, they got their first rifle. Some earlier than that, got their first rifle. Went out hunting. So I just really think it depends on the household you were raised in, as how you're gonna look at guns. And like I said, I was never around guns growing up, but I don't look at them as bad. Like I said, I've held guns, I've shot guns, but I just never had guns. I just never had guns in my household that I knew of until my mother remarried and she remarried my stepfather. And then my stepfather, he had been a gun owner all his life, so he was used to having guns. So he protected his guns. And like I said, we had guns, but I never saw them unless he pulled them out. I didn't know where they were. And frankly, I didn't really care. But yeah, I really think it depends on the household that you grow up in. I really think it depends on the household that you grow up in, and as to how your outlook on guns is. Well, the Ravens just got stopped on fourth down, and the Chiefs are about to take over. It's 10-7 the Chiefs. Now it's a commercial break. But these research studies that the Pew Research did, they don't really have good things. Which state states have the highest and lowest gun death rates in the U.S. And counting murders, suicides, and all other categories tracked by the CDC included Mississippi, 33.9 per 100,000 people, Louisiana, 29.1 out of 100,000, New Mexico, 27.8, Alabama, 26.4, Wyoming, 26.1. Those were the states that had the highest numbers of murders, gun deaths, including suicides, and that was Mississippi, Louisiana, New Mexico, Alabama, and Wyoming. Now, in contrast, the states with the lowest total rates included Massachusetts, which was 3.4%, Hawaii, which was 4.8%, New Jersey, which is 5.2%, New York, which was 5.4%, and Rhode Island, which was 5.6%. It's kind of weird. They say that New York is at the lowest. I guess you could attribute that to their gun laws, but I know I always hear about murders in New York. Oh no, but that's what they say. It's in contrast because I would think New Jersey and New York would be on the higher end, but they have the lowest numbers per capita. There's 8 million people in New York, so numbers gonna be a little skewed. Okay. Gun death rates in the U.S. are much higher than in most other nations, particularly developed nations, but it's still far below the rates in several Latin American countries. And this is a study done in 2018. So El Salvador, Venezuela, Guatemala, Colombia, Honduras all have higher fatality rates by guns than America. And number 2 on that list, Venezuela. Yeah, the Venezuelan gangsters are in America now, trying to take over apartment complexes using guns. Now, how were migrants able to secure guns? And then why are Venezuelans coming over here and terrorizing their own? It seems like they would want to come over here and they would want to join with their own, but they're coming over here and terrorizing their own as if they were still in Venezuela. Kind of crazy. Now, here's the question that I was waiting to talk about. How many people are killed in mass shootings in the United States each year? And they say this is a difficult question to answer because there is no single agreed upon definition of the term mass shooting. Definitions can vary depending on factors including number of victims and circumstances of the shooting. The FBI collects data on active shooter incidents, which it defines as one or more individuals actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a populated area. Using the FBI's definition, 103 people, excluding the shooters, died in such incidents in 2021. Now, the Gun Violence Archive, an online database of gun violence incidents in the U.S., defines mass shootings as incidents in which 4 or more people are shot, even if no one is killed. Again, excluding the shooters. Using this definition, 706 people died in these incidents in 2021. So depending on, numbers can be skewed for for however someone wants to look at a situation. But uh, the FBI's definition of active, that doesn't, I don't think that's not a good definition of what a mass shooting is. I think the Gun Violence Archive, their definition, I think it's more in line with what the definition of a mass shooting should be. Like they say, one or more the FBI says one or more individuals actively engage in killing or attempt to kill people in a populated area. But Gun Violence Archive says defines mass shooting as incidents in which 4 or more people are shot. And I think that's what a mass shooting is. It's where multiple people get shot in one event. I don't think it has to do with 1 or 2 people actively trying to kill people in a population. I think that's, you can say that, but that's not a mass shooting. A mass shooting is when there's multiple casualties. 706 people in 2021 alone. 2021, is that when they had the mass shooting in Vegas, the country concert, where the man shot all those people? I think he shot more than 100 people. I don't know if they died, but I know he shot more than 100 people. And these are some articles that I just found when I was doing a little bit of research for the show tonight. Just going over some of the numbers with you all that I was able to come up with. And really depending on where I saw the information at, really precluded if I was going to use it, because if the information wasn't from a reputable source, I wasn't going to use it. So Pew, CNN, also have the Washington Post and NPR. So these are reputable sources of news information that I was able to find. So what they've said is with these school shootings, most of the school shootings have happened in the South and the Northeast, which is going to be the East Coast and the South. So Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maryland, and Delaware are the states that have had the most school shootings per capita. And then, basically, there's been a school shooting. The only states that have not had one school shooting is, they don't have these states on this. Okay, there hasn't been a school shooting in Oklahoma, or Wyoming, and Vermont and Rhode Island. Yeah, so those are the states that have not had school shootings. Every other state has had at least one. Other than those 4 states, every other state in the United States of America has had at least one. And there are the states that I gave you at the beginning. Those states have all had at least 4 school shootings since 2021. Then you have roughly 20 to 30 other states that have had at least 3 school shootings. And then you have 6 states where there have been 2, and 10 states where there have been 1. And there's like, Hawaii has had a school shooting, and Alaska has had 2 school shootings. So, yeah. Kentucky has had 9 school shootings since 2009. And Ohio has had 18 school shootings since 2008. Ohio has had 18 school shootings. Pennsylvania has had 20 since 2008. Virginia has had 25 school shootings since 2008. Let's go to these states with the highest numbers. Arkansas is 13. Louisiana has had 32 school shootings since 2008. Mississippi's had 13. Alabama's had 25 school shootings since 2008. Tennessee has had 33 school shootings since 2008. And North Carolina is number 1. They've had 43 school shootings since 2008. 43 school shootings? Migrants are robbing. Yeah. Alaska's only had 2. But wow. North Carolina, 43. Maryland has had 32 school shootings. And Delaware has had 6. North Carolina. What's going on? What's going on in the schools in North Carolina? 44 school shootings? Wow. So the only thing I can say to that is wow. 43 school shootings in North Carolina since 2008. That, what's going on in North Carolina? Oof. That's sad. So, 2019 there were 116 school. 2018 there were 115 school shootings. 2019 to 2020 there were 136 school shootings. 2020 to 2021 there were 146 school shootings. In 2021 to 2022 there were 327 school shootings in 1 year. Are we not hearing about all these school shootings? Because I know I hadn't heard about 300 school shootings in 2022. That's a lot of. What is going on? Listening to this information, does it make y'all think that guns need to be regulated? From 2000 to 2001 to 2021-22, there were 1,375 school shootings at public and private elementary and secondary schools, resulting in 505 deaths and 1,161 injuries. School shootings. There have been 783 shootings with deaths or injuries at elementary and middle schools since 2000. That's a lot of little young kids getting shot by other young kids, or in some cases, crazy adults. The majority of K through 12 shootings since 2000 have taken place in high schools. Have taken place in high schools. The most common spot for school shootings was in the park, was in the student parking lot. That's where 28.3% of student shootings took place, in the student parking lot. Yeah, so over half the shootings since 2000 have occurred outside the school. The other half have occurred inside the school. The more and more I'm reading this information and going over this information with y'all, it lets me know that there needs to be some regulation, especially as it pertains to schools. Do all schools need to have metal detectors? I mean, you never want to say that, but do schools need? Do middle schools need? Do elementary schools need metal detectors? Do they? The more and more I'm reading this information, it's depressing. It's really depressing. So the first set of information that I talked about, the first hour and a half, was about basically shooting deaths. Now this information I'm going through is basically specifically about school shootings. And it's crazy. Some of this information is eye-opening. Well, one thing. Okay, so here I'm looking at an article on NPR, and they're saying what research says about preventing school shootings. You know, there was this big push to have teachers or resource guard in the school with guns, and basically they said that's not a good idea. Arming teachers is not good policy. Teachers should be worried about teaching, not the gun they got on the side of their head. I agree with that. I agree with that. Arming teachers is not a good idea. They say another thing that should be done is they should raise the age limit for gun ownership. Should you be 21 before you can own a gun? I mean, you have to be 21 to drink. You have to be 21 to drink, but you can own a gun at 15. So I can't drink a beer, but I can own a weapon that can kill somebody. Now you can kill somebody if you drink and drive, but I don't think if you don't even have a license, you can't drive. So you can't drink, but you can own a gun at 15. Gun regulations are only going to control law-abiding citizens. I think with that control, law-abiding citizens are going to be controlled, but I think with regulation, that kind of keeps the criminal element from being able to get their hands on specific types of guns. I mean, it's kind of hard to stop the underworld from getting guns. We know this. The underworld, like I said, I can leave her now and go get a gun. But most of those guns that are being bought in the hood, in the inner city, those guns are being used in the hood and in the inner city. I would say for the most part. because most people get murdered in their neighborhood. Most people that get murdered, they get murdered in their neighborhood, and they get murdered by somebody that they know. Or somebody that they know. So those are things that we just know through research. But I think that, yeah, gun owners, you shouldn't be able to. I don't think you should be able to own a gun at 18. I don't think so. It's going to be hard for the Baltimore Ravens to score because the Chiefs are playing a prevent defense against them. They don't want Lamar Jackson to be able to do anything. Is there a need for more child psychologists, more sociologists in elementary, middle, and high school? Would this help? Because, like we said, lots of these young kids don't have any coping mechanisms. Their only cope is to go get the gun and shoot. I think, for one, teachers need to be paid more, and we need more sociologists and psychologists in schools. I used to be a recruiter for a alternative school, and basically they had a staff of psychologists and sociologists for if students needed to talk to somebody, they could. And basically the ratio was that every psychologist there had a book of no more than 6 students. So basically they had enough psychologists and enough sociologists on staff that they were able to really give because there would be some times where stuff would happen and the kid would have to go to the psychologist immediately. So I've worked in these types of schools, and the kids are good. Some of the kids are good students. Some of them are good. They're living situations. I think that's another thing that needs to be looked at in terms of mental health of children is their living situations. Some students, the only place they get love at is when they go to school. And then some students don't even get the love at school. They get the hate. That's why they come and shoot everything up. So I think that there is a need to have sociologists and psychologists in regular and private public schools, just as they do have them in alternative schools. I think that will do a lot in terms of having measures to prevent these types of situations. Because it's not just alternative schools that need sociologists and psychologists. Regular students need this as well. The Ravens just got an interception, so they have the ball at the 50. And so yeah, I think that no, you can't stop the underworld. So YWG, the facility that you work at, they utilize sociologists and psychologists, correct? Am I correct? And if they do, what's the workload? Do they have they can't go over a set amount of students? Yeah, wasn't no behind the back pass that time. But can they do the psychologists? What's a full load of students for the psychologists where you work at? Do they have, is it 4 to 5? more than 6. What's the ratio? What's the ratio? Or do they? I'm pretty sure that you all have psychologists and sociologists at that facility, but what's the breakdown? Or do you have one that basically handles the caseload for all of the young men, young ladies that are at your facility? And another thing that needs to be looked at is how these young kids are getting access to these guns. I think that's a that right there is I guess if you start prosecuting parents, if you start prosecuting parents have, you know, put guns in areas where children will have access to them, I think you need to start charging these parents. Now, if a student or a youngster breaks into a lockbox, it's a different story. But if you're an adult and you have impressionable children in your house and you're not locking your guns up, I think you're negligent to some fault. And like Dark Star said, you know, some common sense. Some common sense has to be necessary in terms of if you own guns and you got children. Some type of common sense needs to be utilized. If you raise the gun ownership age, don't expect anyone to serve in the military. Yeah, understand, and I think that that's one of the reasons why the gun limit is 18 is because when you're 18, you can go to the service. Are you ex-military, Dark Star? If so, what branch were you in? Okay. So at the facility where you're at, they offer family and individual therapy. One of each working with the family and the kids. Total kids 8. Yep. Okay. So yeah, because these before these kids go and pick up a gun, they need to have some access to somebody that they can go and talk to, and basically non-partial. Have a person that they can go to talk to, non-partial. Um, I think that's a I think that would be a good thing. I think psychologists and sociologists are needed in all schools, not just alternative schools or schools where there's behavioral issues. I think that all students need to have access to sociologists and psychology. And I think that this will go a long way in terms of combating someone bringing a gun to school. Because if you have access to talk to somebody, maybe somebody can, you know, change your outlook on things, change the students' outlook on things of how they're looking. Maybe they feel like they're boxed in, they're walled in. So maybe having a sociologist, psychologist on campus at a public and private schools, that'll go a long way to try to alleviate some of these issues where people don't know, youngsters don't know how to cope with conflict. It's just my thinking. Okay, so most of the kids that you work with, most of kids are gang members hanging out in the streets and lots of first gen English speak. Okay. So basically you're dealing with a lot of inner city kids and a lot of Latino children. Inner city and Latino children. Yeah, that was one thing that when I was there, it was, yeah. Um, there's lots of Latin American gangs in Virginia, particular when I was in Virginia, there was a girl that got killed by something 13. I forgot I can't really think something 13. But there's a Latin there. This is one of the worst gangs in the world, and they are deep in Virginia. Salvaruche 13 or something like that. I can't think of, yeah, but they are deep in Virginia in terms of Latino gangs, Spanish gangs. There's I would say that there's more Spanish gangs, Spanish and Latino gangs in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area than there are black gangs, because that's one thing I'll say about Maryland. They're not really into gangs. The only color is money. They're not really into gang culture in the Maryland, VA, D.C. area. But the Latino and the Spanish gangs, heavy presence, heavy presence. And I think YWG will back up what I just said. Yeah. I can't think of something 13, but that Latino gang is very, very big in Virginia. Very big. But hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the page. We're having a good conversation about gun control. Is it necessary? Is it not necessary? As well, we've been talking about school shootings. We haven't really come up to a consensus of anything. We've said that there's a need for something, but people are, some people have said that if you do any regulation, you're regulating the law-abiding citizens. You're not really regulating the criminal element in this process. We're not really taking that into account. But whoever, law-abiding citizens, criminals, whoever has access to guns, there needs to be some type of regulation. There needs to be some type of regulation. We've had 418 school shootings since 1999. And I did the average on that. That's like 26 school shootings a year. And then we looked at the states that have the most school shootings, and the one that was most was North Carolina with 43, Maryland with 33, Tennessee with 36. These are all school shootings. 36 school shootings in Tennessee, 33 school shootings in Maryland, 43 school shootings in North Carolina. So, like we said, federally, there's not much that can be done. The states are the ones that have to combat these. So what the people need to do is look at the state. What is the state and local government doing to protect their people when things like this happen? What is being done? And that's where we're at with this. We're trying to figure out solutions for this epidemic of gun culture that's going on right now. It wasn't like this when I was young. Maybe there's lots of stuff out here that these kids are going through, but I don't think they're going through anything more than what we were going through when we were growing up. And we fought. We fought. We fought. So, not sure. Not sure. And I don't know if it's regulation that needs to be done, but something needs to be done. Okay, so Darcy said, no, my family is as far back as the first black regiment and roll out. And okay. I knew it was something because you have a military mind state. So I knew it was something. See, I grew up in my father was retired Air Force, and then he was in the retired Air Force, and then he was in the Air National Guard for 25 years. So we didn't do a lot of moving around, but I understand living in a military family to some extent. But yeah. MS-13. MS-13. Yeah. That gang is really, really big in the Virginia area. So YWG, you have a lot of do you have a lot of MS-13 people MS-13 members that you come in contact with? I know they probably don't tell y'all what gang they're in, but you can probably tell. They got tattoos and all that type of stuff where you can tell what gang they're in. And the thing about Latin gangs is, they don't, gunplay is nothing to them. I mean, gunplay is nothing to any of these gangsters, but yeah. MS-13 is really big on Long Island. Okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, MS-13 was real big in Virginia, Maryland, and the DC area. Really big. But it's kind of underlying. It's not something that you're really gonna see on the surface. You have to go to those neighborhoods where there's basically a large Latino population of people. It's the thing about different ethnic groups. They have areas where they live at and they're comfortable. That's why every place I've lived, they have a Chinatown. So that's where you're going to see the prevalence of those gangs and that gang culture. The Latino gang culture is really in those neighborhoods. And like we said, as you can see, just like the Venezuelan gangs, really they terrorize their own. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's not a big thing about it. But yeah, gun culture. That is the culture we live in right now. Gun culture. Switches, AR-15s, street sweepers, AKs. Those are the guns that you hear about when you hear about these mass shootings. AKs, AR-15s, and switches. What can be done about those? What can be done about those three things right there? AK-47s, AR-15s, and switches. What can be done about those? Okay, now we're not talking about regulating guns, totally, but what can be done about those three things right there? Switches, AKs, and ARs. What can be done about those? Wow. We know the idiots post their, yeah, they do. No one would know nothing about what was going on in Aurora, Colorado if it wasn't caught on somebody's ring cam. But how do you all feel? And this is a little bit off the subject, but it's not off the subject. How do you all feel about the Hells Angels supposedly are going to Colorado to confront the Venezuelans? Is that a good thing? Is it good that a one percenter motorcycle gang is going to defend Americans' rights? Is that a good thing? By any means necessary? How y'all feel about that? And I would think it's safe to say that if Hell's Angels are showing up, they're bringing some firearms. But the whole thing just really doesn't seem like it would be like they're not gonna. I don't see the Hell's Angels advertising that we're gonna go here. I just don't see it working out like that. Now I could be wrong, but I don't see it. I don't see the Hell's Angels putting it out there what they're gonna do. I'll say that. I just don't see that. But who knows? But is it a good thing if we have to rely on the Hell's Angels to protect a state? The National Guard can't do it. Sheriff's Department can't do it. Police can't do it. What y'all think? Wow, I've been talking for 3 hours and 17 minutes and I didn't even know it. So I'm probably gonna stay on for 30 more minutes. No, 13 more minutes. I appreciate everybody chilling out with me tonight. Just came on Thursday, like I said. What happened yesterday? On top of my cousin getting killed, he was shot and killed Monday night. I think Monday night. And then I had one of my buddies called me this morning, and his nephew hung himself last night. So just these different conversations that I've had and stuff, I just felt that this was something I needed to talk about tonight. So RIP to my cousin, my younger cousin, Leonard. No. Wow. Well, I can't remember my cousin. Yeah, it's my uncle's son. He wasn't really around a lot, but yeah, my cousin got shot and killed Monday night. So this talk that we're having kind of is close to home. So even though I don't really, I don't agree that, I think everybody should still have the right to bear arms. But some guns are not necessary on the streets. And I just feel like an AR-15, an AK-47, guns with switches. Those guns are on. Those are guns that are only used for destruction. But we'll be back on it Tuesday, y'all. I'm gonna have my Trump information ready. I'm gonna have my Kamala Harris information ready. We're gonna watch the debate live together, and we had a nice little conversation going with last Tuesday's show. So hopefully Tuesday night's debate show is gonna be good. So yeah, this will be the first debate. So people are going to finally talk about their platforms. And that's what I've been waiting on. I want to hear what you're going to do. All these people that have already made up their minds on who they're voting for, I don't know what they've made their minds up on because nobody has said anything. And like I said, we done with that blind trust. That ain't. And I can tell you all that one of the topics that will be discussed on Tuesday is going to be the disgruntled Black Democratic voter. And there's lots of them. There's lots of them. Disgruntled Black Democratic voters. That's one of the topics we're going to talk about Tuesday. As well as what is Kamala Harris going to do to get Black men to vote for her? Black men are probably the most important constituency in this presidential race. There's going to be people that don't want to admit it. But the Black man vote is going to be very, very important in this election. There haven't been too many elections where you can say that the Black man's vote is the power vote. But it is in this election. And what is Kamala Harris going to do to win the trust of Black men? Everybody wants to say she's a Black woman. What are you going to do for Black? What are you going to do, Kamala, to win the Black man vote? And we're going to talk about that on Tuesday. We're not going to start tonight, but yeah. And Meg Stallion dancing at your rally ain't going to get it. It's not going to get it. This your boy Maas Apeal. This was a Thursday night special edition. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. We'll be back Tuesday.